And finally, the last piece of classroom management that I want to talk about, the actual strategy, is the use of bell work. Now, we talked about this just a minute ago when I talked about practicing the procedures, coming in and doing bell work. Now, a couple things to keep in mind when you do that. So bell work is the work that students do when they first come in, what I just described. You come into my class, you put your backpack down, you look up there will be a relevant activity, not busy work. I'm going to give you the respect to not give you busy work. I'm going to plan something that is relevant to you and to your learning. Okay, that's rule number one. If you want them to come in and respect you and take a look at that and do whatever that assignment is, you need to make sure it's relevant to what they're trying to learn. Okay, so I'm going to give you that. And when you come in, it's going to be something that is either graded or it needs to be finished before you can do the next thing. The reason why I'm saying this is you can have bell work up there every single day, but unless the students know that it's worth something, that they need it for another task, or that it's graded, they're not going to do it. Just like you're not going to do busy work that is not graded or not important to your principal, right? So in order for the bell work to work, some people call it bell ringers. It's that first activity on the board that students come in. Either it's a check, like you walk around the room and maybe it's a little grade in there. Maybe if you do 5 bell works in a row, you get a homework pass. I know these are extrinsic rewards and we're not supposed to use extrinsic rewards, but extrinsic rewards sometimes work. You know, this is a more practical application video for your classroom. On the test, remember, don't do extrinsic rewards, but you might say, okay, if you do all of your bell work, if everybody does all of their bell work all week, on Friday we have a little game or something like that, a reward system. That might be it. Or it might be that it is a grade in the grade book. Maybe you tally up their bell work at the end of the week and you put it in as a participation grade, and that works too. Or even more importantly, and I think more effectively, is to make the bell work relevant to the next part of the lesson. Now, this takes planning. This takes really kind of segmenting your classes in order so that one builds on another, and you'll get better at this as you teach. But really, the most meaningful bell work is we're starting here. In order to get to the next piece, you got to really understand this, and this is going to guide classroom activities and instruction. So if your students are very engaged, they're going to want to do that bell work in order to continue on to the science lab or the next cooperative learning activity or whatever. Now that takes time to build up that kind of, where students are doing it for the sake of doing it, that intrinsic reward. You might have to start out with some, grades, like bell work is graded. Bell work will be part of your overall grade. Okay, then students will do it. But you eventually want to get to the point where students want to do the bell work because in order to really get the most out of the lesson, they have to do this particular part, all right? So make it specific to the lesson, make it graded, make it meaningful. Otherwise, they're not going to do it, okay? Now, bell work can be a variety of things. It could be read this section on your own and get familiar with these vocabulary words because they're going to come up in the lesson. Or, it could be step by step, maybe getting ready for something. Make sure you have your lab notebook, your pencil, your ruler. And so the bell work might be them getting everything out and setting everything up and going through their checklist on their own. Maybe it's a bell work checklist. Whatever it is, make it meaningful and make it so that you have time to do attendance, to do the little things that you need to do with a quiet classroom or a quiet transition in order to start the lesson, effectively. All right. So that's really important. And there's all kinds of examples of bell work, but I always usually had some guiding questions. Sometimes I would say, read this, this passage or read this and ask me what questions do you have? Right. And that's great formative data. So read this and generate 2 questions for me. What questions do you still have after reading? Now I know what I'm going to talk about. I go around, what are your 2 questions, Sally? And she tells me, okay, Raul, what are your 3 questions? And now you have a discussion going. Okay. So all of that is really important with bell work. Make it meaningful. It's not just busy work. It needs to lead to something, and your students will do that. So let's go over those 3 strategies one more time that you can apply to your classroom right now. The first one is setting clear expectations, and we're going to do that with our students, and we're going to revisit those over and over again, and they're going to be written in positive language. The second thing is practice procedures. Procedures, procedures, procedures. You're going to stop all instruction. You're going to go through your expected procedures and you're going to do it again and again and again until it is like a machine with your students. They know exactly what to do. This can be during transitions. This can be during period changes. It can be for anything. Maybe it's a transition on how to work a lab. Maybe there are specific procedures for just a lab. Maybe there are specific procedures for group reading. Maybe there are specific procedures for center work. Whatever it is, practice them, practice them, practice them before you engage in any instruction with those procedures. And then finally, the last thing is to use bell work or bell ringers at the beginning of your classroom to get those students focused, to get them calmed down after a transition or after lunch, and to give you a minute to kind of collect yourself, take attendance, and get things going for the class. That bell work should lead to more interesting information or a cooperative learning activity or something in the class, or it should be graded, or there should be some sort of accountability or extrinsic reward, a game at the end of the week or something like that. Always helps. So keep those things in mind when focusing on your classroom instruction. Now remember, none of us is perfect when it comes to classroom management. I have yelled, I have cried in my car, I have made mistakes with students, and you will too. You'll feel like you're failing, but remember, don't give up and keep practicing. This all takes practice. So just know you're human and so are they. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, but keep getting in there, keep fighting for your kids, and they'll fight for you too. All right, so if you have specific things you want me to talk about in terms of classroom management, throw them in the comments below. No shame. If you are having problems getting kids settled down after lunch, let me know. If you're having problems during your reading block or something like that, let me know. Be specific and I'll be happy to address those. Make sure you leave confidentiality to it. Don't use any names. But if you have a specific situation you want me to talk about, I'm happy to film about that. So let us know in the comments. And it helps for others to know they're not alone. I'm sure the problem you're having, 100 other teachers are having the same problem. Trust me, we're all in this together. We all make mistakes and we all have a hard time. Just keep going, just keep practicing. Don't give up on your kids and they won't give up on you. Thank you so much for watching today. Hope that cleared some things up for you. If you have any comments, go ahead and throw them below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notifications button so you're notified when we upload new content. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you soon.